here talking about the Great Resignation and why it's important to take a look at it, what's the significance of it, how we got here, and what do we do now. So just thank you all for joining, and we're recording, so hopefully you're okay with that. And we want to be interactive, and then also we're going to go a little deeper once we do that. Elizabeth?
And be sure everyone stay till the end. We have some calls to actions, and then Deborah will provide you with some tools, and we're going to have a little bit of a mini group discussion. So for those of you that don't know me or we're meeting for the first time, I am Deborah's right-hand girl. I'm her assistant, her new assistant. I've been with her about 2 months now. We're very excited. This is our second installment of the Great Resignation webinar, and we're so glad that y'all are here. So a little bit brief bio about Deborah that I love to share. So her genius is creating a clear vision for CEOs and their teams, making that vision a reality. With decades of C-level executive and team coaching, Deborah challenges leaders by inviting them to create a collaborative, vibrant, responsible, and joy-filled culture, which fosters highly desirable results. Her practice is shared in a very diverse range of industries: high tech, wealth management, engineering, healthcare, marketing, and more. I want to share with you all first, before we dive in, a quick little Harvard Business Review statistic that Deborah and I talked about this morning. It says, the Great Resignation is real and it's happening. The US Department of Labor reports that during the months of April, May, and June of this year alone, a total of 11.5 million people quit their jobs. That is like crazy. And that's why we're here. That's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And without further ado, Deborah.
Thank you. So before we launch in, I would like for you, each of you, to just take a moment, take a pause. When you hear that 11 million people left, and more have left, right? Because this was in May, probably who knows how many more million have left. One sentence, if you were to say from your perspective, what's bringing us to this point? What's bringing us to this point? I just want your thoughts, your opinions. So just take, and it's just going to be like 30 seconds, 20 seconds or less, to share one sentence what comes up for you when you hear that 11 million plus have resigned so far this year. Who wants to go first? Anyone have a thought, idea around that?
I will. Times are changing. That's what I think of. Times are changing. Things are different. Life is not how it used to be.
Thank you.
I would agree with that for sure.
Hey, Maury.
I agree. It's Craig here, just expanding on that point. I think during COVID, a lot of people have worked from home for the first time where they couldn't before. And many people have been sick from COVID or lost people from COVID. And that's kind of slowed everyone down and made them reflect on their purpose and values. And maybe they're taking action now on issues that they had in their minds before, but now they're feeling they have that momentum, the clarity in that slowdown to do something about it.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone else have a sentence that comes to their head around why we're in this space that we're in right now, around millions and millions leaving their work? Yes, Beth.
I was thinking of the word apathy. And they sometimes say that apathy is one step past rage.
Thank you. Okay.
So on to our next topic here. So Deborah, I want you to touch a little bit on how you personally believe we got here, and why is this important to you, Deborah, that we're talking about this right now?
Mm-hmm. So this is a loaded question for me. My belief over here is that we resigned from ourselves a long time ago. It's not about our work. It's not about our boss or where we work. It's that we haven't stepped into who we're called to be, and we're not doing what we're called to do. And we finally are realizing it, but people are, my story, not taking responsibility that they're the creator of their life. They're blaming their boss or their company, and they're leaving, and they're just thinking the answer is outside of themselves somewhere else. And then also with leaders, they're thinking that their people need to be doing something different and creating a blame, lack of responsibility, to build a culture where everyone works together. And I believe we started that when we went off to school. We weren't taught to really live what we love doing. We are told what to do and what success is. And I think we're finally realizing that we're more than doers, that we're more than just achieving, and then we're more than just success, but people aren't sure now what that really means. So I'm glad that we're here right now. I'm glad we're having this discussion. I'm glad that we're finally stepping back and being like, this hasn't worked. It might have worked for the last 50 years or since the war or whatever, but it's not working anymore. So I'm excited that we get to explore this together and create something new for all of us. Why is it important to me? It's because we only have one life, and I've been at that point where I almost died. And so I believe most people are living a life that's surviving, not thriving. I believe that people are suffering, and the suffering doesn't come from just the work they do. It comes from they're not listening to themselves. So I think it's a beautiful opportunity for people to discover who are they called to be and what are they here to do, as I said earlier. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay, so we're going to open up a little bit of a mini, maybe 2-minute max little discussion of what everyone here in this webinar, what do you all feel from your perspective is the way out? What do you think some solutions could be?
Yeah, so, and we'll do like 5 minutes total. So if you have a thought, just, yeah.
Yeah, we have more people.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Yeah. Will you set the timer? What's the way out?
Getting to know yourself better, what you want out of life, you know, things like that, what your goals are, who you are.
Mhm, mhm.
Oh, Deborah, I think that the way out is the way in.
Mm,
I think that what we have to do is decide what is important to us and that people make the difference, and then look for the right attitude and the right way of thinking from the people that we live with and that we work with. I think it's something that's just internal. I think it's external as well. The things that you're doing excite me because they deal with the whole process. They deal with everybody that makes up the world that you're in, certainly in business and maybe in your social life as well. And if we don't recognize that, if we don't recognize the influences that we have on the things that we do and the people that we meet, and we don't allow people to influence us, then there is no change.
mhm. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any other thoughts?
3 more minutes on this topic. Anybody? Bueller?
Craig, do you have any thoughts on this?
No, I think that's kind of covered what I was mainly thinking on that point.
Thank you. Okay.
Awesome.
Jim, did you want to share anything? Oh, Jim, we can't hear you.
You're on mute.
There you go.
There you go.
I think the opportunity to take a deep breath and reflect is a time that probably is the most important time in our lives. And then I think empathy is the key word.
Mhm, mhm, mhm. Thank you. Thank you.
So Deborah, from your perspective, what do you think is the way out? You know, what is your experience over the last 3 decades working with CEOs, entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders?
Mhm.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thank you. So I believe the answer has to start internally, meaning our intrinsic motivation and noticing what we're responsible for, each one of us. So the 3 lanes, you guys have heard me say this, my lane, your lane, God, the universe's lane. What I'm responsible for is how I think, which brings my feelings, which brings my behavior, which brings my results. That's what I'm responsible for. If I'm trying to get in Maury's lane and tell Maury he needs to be better or do something differently, and I get frustrated with him, that's not my lane. I can't change his behaviors, his actions, only he can do that. So what I call that is radical responsibility. And how do we step into that? It's to learn tools we weren't equipped with. We weren't equipped with how do I start to notice my own thinking and what creates those feelings inside of me. We normally push them down and ignore them. We don't get the wisdom from them, and then we react. We have reactive cultures, and that reactivity is causing the leaders to suffer and the people to suffer. And it's creating a culture that is defensive, blame, shame, and it doesn't have to be that way. And how do we change that is each of us learn what's triggering me. It's my trigger. It's not that Maury's triggering me. It's my perspective that's causing me to get triggered. It's my belief system. We all have a belief system that we created, and most of it is negative because we have a mind that's looking to keep us safe. The amygdala, which is looking for safety, 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 and what might be a threat to us. That's how we're all wired. But we don't have to be that way. We can go beyond that. And so our responsibility is to learn, how do I step outside of my reactivity? How do I take care of myself and pause when I notice I'm getting angry, when I notice I'm frustrated, when I notice I'm anxious? How do I learn to feel my feelings? How do I learn to own my thoughts and change a different thought to have a new perspective? Learning breathing practices. How do I own my space and grow in my space? So I think radical leadership, that we each need to take ownership around how we're showing up in the world, because we're the only one that can make the difference and change. So we all are called to be the change, or we're going to continue this path, right? But it only takes one. It only takes one. It only takes one, right? That's you.
Are you saying that, radical leadership then is the next call to action, or what would you say would be the immediate call to action, or is that first or second? What do you think?
So radical leadership means we're all leaders. Leadership is how we show up. Leadership is, how do I lead my thinking? How do I lead myself? How do I lead myself when I'm getting emotional? Am I just all over the place and not like listening to myself? And am I just at the effect of what's happening? Or am I taking charge? Am I taking charge of myself? Am I feeling? Am I learning? Am I learning what my feelings are telling me, right? Am I learning what my body's telling me? Am I learning that I'm getting a headache? What is that telling me, right? But we've got to start to look inward. We've been so focused our entire life on outward, externals, externals, externals. This is the opportunity now to come inward, inward, inward. Self-awareness. Self-awareness is radical leadership and learning those tools.
Excellent. Let's touch on culture. I want to have a culture conversation. Deborah, tell us, what is it? How do we define it? And why is it most important right now?
Yeah, so culture is, a lot of people think it's kind of nebulous. It's like, oh, wow, culture, what the heck is that? Culture is, each person creates culture. What is allowed, what's not allowed. And typically cultures are just happenstance. Sorry, guys, this keeps falling out of my mouth because I just had surgery. So if you see that I don't have teeth in front of my mouth, yeah, well, I'm just being vulnerable here. I just fall out. So culture is typically something that we don't even think about. The culture we know of, the toxic culture we know of, is usually reactivity, and it's just an overflow of a lot of reactivity. And so what culture has been for many people that we know is a lot of blame, shame, tolerance of things that aren't kind, that aren't loving, that aren't empathetic, that aren't growing, that aren't connected, right? Culture is led by leadership. Leadership at the top. How leaders lead themselves and how they work with each other really sets the tone for how leadership is going to trickle down to the culture. Now, the cool thing is we can change a culture, just like I said before, if we decide each one of us is going to take responsibility. Even if I have a boss that's not kind, it's still my responsibility as how do I want to show up, right? What's my responsibility? We all have negativity bias. So if we give grace and trust and love to each other, that's our choice, or we can blame and shame each other. So I think the culture right now shows that it's not working. So culture, how should I say this? Results always show what we're committed to. So if we have a culture and we don't like the results, we know that we're making decisions out of toxicity, out of fear. Cool, we can learn from that. We have the opportunity to turn that around. We have the opportunity to look at tools, which I offer, on how to take radical responsibility, get curious, learn about someone else, learn about when our negative thinking is running, which is 65,000 thoughts we have a day. Most of them are negative. And guess what? They're recycled from yesterday. So guess what we're gonna create? Negativity. But it doesn't have to be that way because we're more than our thoughts. So it's learning about emotional intelligence. If you haven't read anything about Dan Goleman, I would definitely read about him. He talks about what our emotions are really telling us. And emotions only last up to 90 seconds, guys. That's it. That's it. But we've been taught, don't bring emotions to work. Oh, no, no, no. Right? But our biggest learning, they say it's even greater than our IQ, are our emotions. So to feel them all the way through, we can get the learning. And that's a whole other topic that we can discuss around the feelings that we feel, right?
Yeah. Deborah, what would you say impacts culture the most in the workplace, and who is most responsible for that?
I believe when we don't have a learning culture, when you have a culture where there's only one way, a right way, this is right, this is wrong, I'm right, you're wrong. Now, this isn't said, right? This is just the way it happens. And it's an unaware culture, one that's not committed to learning and growing personally. Like we all have to, if we're going to grow, we all take responsibility to learn. So I would say, yeah, I would say that.
Yeah. So everything that's happening right now, I mean, this is all so unexpected and we're all kind of scrambling, trying to figure this out as a unit. How do we turn this around? You know, how do we move forward? How do we experience what's happening as an opportunity instead of a threat? How do we use hope as ammo instead of fear?
Yeah, that's really good. So I think all of us have been really scared at times around this. Scared, like, am I going to get sick? Scared, is my partner going to get sick? Am I going to have work? Am I going to be able to take care of my kids? Are they going to go off to school? Are they going to be able to go to college? Are they going to be able to do, you know, all the things that, first of all, usually are not in our control, cause us fear. So one, I would say, is look at what is in your control. What is in your control? So if you're frustrated, fearful, sad, notice, is it something I can change? If it's not, let it go. Do some breathing practices. I always say, take in 3 deep belly breaths all the way from your belly, all the way in and all the way out. Because that actually sets your neurosympathetic system actually changes when you actually breathe. Because when we're triggered and scared, we lock in like this. We don't know this, we do this, and we don't breathe the full way. So we're not even oxygenating our brain the full way, which, guess what? We're not even thinking clearly, right? So we're making a lot of decisions out of small options, or one option. So one is notice if you're breathing. Notice what your responsibility is. Let go what is not. 2 is to breathe. I would say take 3 deep breaths just to slow yourself down, give yourself some space. And 3, one that I love to teach people is the thought that I'm having once I'm not in that trigger state, could the opposite of it be true, or even truer? Because typically we have a negative bias, which I said earlier, and that is going to trigger you. But the opposite can always be true. And when we start to wonder if the opposite's true, guess what happens? We get into curiosity. And that moves us from defense, right or wrong, to curiosity. And that curiosity is the change agent for everything, to change the way we relate to ourselves, the way we relate to our dear family, our clients, our leaders. It changes everything. Curiosity creates learning, creativity, connection, collaboration. It moves us out of my way or the highway. It moves us to curiosity. If we just wonder, how could the opposite be true? Just that one thing.
I'd love to circle back to something that Craig touched on in the beginning, the pandemic specifically. I want you to talk about, for just 5-ish minutes, mental health. The mental health has been linked with burnout. An article that I read recently too from Inc., they state the pandemic has changed everything. And for most employee segments, it deeply affected their sense of belonging and inclusion. Against the backdrop of a war for talent and record high quit rates, employees are now demanding more flexibility, space, support, and trust from their organizations. It also goes on to say, with the Great Resignation in full swing, employees are increasingly calling the shots and their expectations have changed drastically. So what do you think about that, Deborah?
Well, there's a lot there. So I'd love to hear all
That's a
your
loaded, that's a loaded.
Yeah, it's a loaded. So right away, you said at the end, it was calling the shots. My energy went down
Yeah.
because I don't think anyone should be calling the shots. I think, how do we hear everyone? How can everyone's voice be heard for real? And how do we create win-win solutions? How can we create a win for everyone? Because if we're looking for a win-lose, a right-wrong, no one's going to win. And we're going to continue this cycle. So curiosity begs, how can we really truly step back and create something that works for everyone, which I call my whole yes, a whole body yes, head, heart, gut. How do I create that for myself? How do I own that? And how do I hear what someone else says? So we all have filters when we listen to people. When we have filters, we look with our perspective and then we unconsciously push that person away and think that they're wrong because they're different than us. That's for us to notice, wow, I'm not really open to hearing that person. So I teach people, I teach leaders, when someone comes in to talk to you, I tell my leaders make up a story. I tell them on Friday from 12 to 2, tell them they can come in and talk to you for 10 minutes and they can complain or tell you anything they want. And you're just going to hear them and you're going to say, thank you. That's it. Because leaders say they're open to hearing, but no one comes in to talk to them. Usually no one comes in, right? It's like, oh yeah, I have an open door policy. Yeah. Well, who's coming in to talk to you?
Yeah.
Because it's fear-based, right? Because people think I really can't tell them because they're not going to hear me. So the big thing around all of this is, can we just hear each other? Because there's always a morsel of truth, a tiny morsel. We might not like it, but there's a tiny morsel. And how, again, the opposite, right? How might it be true for me? How might that morsel be true? And if part of it's true, what can I learn from it? Right? As much as our ego wants to be like, oh no, that's not for me, right? That's what the ego does. It pushes away. Well, how could it be for me? So I guess if we could all practice together, what can I learn from this? How could this be true? And am I open to really hearing other people? And even outing, you know what? I want to hear you. And right now I know I'm triggering myself. Start to own your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own behaviors. How am I triggering myself? Hey, you know, I'm triggered and I want to hear you. Let me take a moment to take a breath, or let me get back to you because I do want to hear you. It doesn't mean you have to fix it or change. Actually, they say just hearing someone 98% of the time is the fix. And we haven't been a culture that hears each other. We haven't been, right? Look at our culture of the United States. Let's get away from work. We're arguing the whole time, picking a president, what's going to happen with vaccinations, whatever. People are picking sides. What's going to happen? We're going to blow up our country, right? This is not going to work very well. We're going to end up resigning ourselves from our country. This is what happened during the Civil War, right? So we're at that stage again. We're at a civil war for our country, and it's happening through our businesses. So the opportunity is for each of us to look at, how am I going to be, again, like I said, the change? What am I willing to practice? And who is going to be willing to practice? Can I join them? Can we practice together? Because there are people that want to change and grow together. Go find those people. And those that aren't, I say, don't hire them. Don't work there. Because those aren't the people you want. You want to have open, curious, loving people, right? That's what I want in my life. Because then I get challenged to grow too. I want people to tell me, hey, where are you on that, right? Thoughts, guys?
Oh,
Jim,
Jim,
can
you're
you,
on mute. There we go.
I was just gonna say, I love this title. And the thoughts that come to mind are, when I said, I think of apathy and one step beyond rage, that is part of what we're experiencing here. It's like people are not willing to re-sign to this idea of being a machine. No, I am a human being, and my being informs my doing. These are all the things I hear you saying.
yeah.
And so while it feels negative and scary and uncertain, it's really a good thing, that people are saying, I'm resigning from this dynamic or this culture.
Yeah.
Keep
I'm gonna-
pushing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. I love that. It makes me think I'm going to do a little drama for you because we play drama all the time inside of ourselves when we're unaware, right? Our ego plays drama. It flips us out. Something should be different. I should be different. They should be different. The situation should be different. I'm not happy because it's not different. All right. So Elizabeth and I were joking before she got on today, and we're like, oh, the screen is sideways. And she's like, I can't turn it. I don't know how to turn it. Right. And so we're like, how could this be perfect? Because Elizabeth, what do you want to say about how did you feel and what were you thinking when you were sideways?
I just felt unprepared and I felt stressed.
Unprepared, right?
And I was like, oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm sideways and I can't fix this. And
yeah, so she felt
everyone's gonna
sideways.
look at me sideways.
Yeah, so in my world, my work is when we are at the effect of what's outside of us.
Yeah, victim.
When I'm at the effect of what the screen is doing. I can't change the screen. I don't know how to turn the screen. I don't know how to make it better. She feels helpless, right? This is what the ego does. Then she's like, well, why can't I figure this out? She's going to be hard on herself. Why can't I make this screen better? What are people going to think of me? I can't go on screen looking like this. People are going to judge me. People are going to judge that I can't figure out the screen. Oh my gosh. I'm just going to go have a drink. I'm going to temporarily make myself feel better because this is just not working. Right. But we all do this. So it's to notice where are we in our head, guys? We play this victim, villain, hero, taking more than or less than our responsibility around the world. We're at the effect of. So if we own, what can I change? How do I want to show up? Can I feel my feelings all the way through? Am I willing to learn? Am I willing to hear? Am I willing to create a win-win solution? What are all the possibilities versus what's the right way? Can I get as many possibilities as possible? Oh yeah, let's come up with something great here. I want to hear from everyone. What kind of power would that be? So if you know how to fix Elizabeth's screen, we want to hear from you. I know.
Send me a message in the chat.
Yeah. But this drama, guys, goes on inside of ourselves. Every 4 seconds, we're not present and the ego is driving us. And this is what we're doing for ourselves. So it's really, we got to go back and retrain ourselves. We got to go back to school to notice our own thinking because it's just automatic until we are aware. And then we can choose. I don't have to be in drama if I don't want. That's a whole other story. But this is the work I do. This is the work I do for corporations. It's fun. It is totally fun.
Yay.
Yay. Okay, guys. What else? What are your thoughts? Real thoughts, guys? Anything that you're struggling with right now, or I'd love to hear your perspective while we're together. What are you experiencing now? Mhm.
For me, my greatest challenge is prioritization. With the magnitude of activities going on in our world today, enhanced by internet and Google search and other things, I feel oftentimes overwhelmed. And so I have to reflect while I'm breathing, as you so intelligently recommended. I'm trying to decide what is the most important thing for me to do now.
Yeah. So I love that you brought up all the opportunity to hear a bunch of stuff. So my toss to all of you is to notice your focus and choose it in the morning. If I want to be a joyful person, growing and learning, I want to know, where am I putting my ears? What am I listening to unconsciously and consciously? Because the world is what? Is it a positive thinking, growing culture right now around the world?
No.
No. And guess what? It's the opposite.
Right.
So I would pay attention to, what are you listening to? What are you feeding yourself with? Am I feeding myself with compassion and growth? Am I with people that are about being the change? Or am I with complainers? Am I with people who are villainizing, right, wrong? Decide. I don't listen to this since 9/11, guys. You might be weird to you. Since 9/11, I stopped listening to the news. The only way I know that something's happening is if my 2 children come and tell me. Why? Because we've been trying to kill each other for thousands and thousands of years. Nothing's changed. But I know I'm going to be the change, because the more things I put in outside of me, I get overwhelmed. And that's not where I want to be. I want to be with, how am I going to show up? How am I going to show up? Am I growing? Am I learning? That's my responsibility. Am I growing? Am I learning? Am I becoming the person I'm called to be? The one life I've been given and given back, thank God. That's why I'm here, is to wake all of you up to your purpose, your life's calling. And it is not about getting, what done. It's how you go about getting your stuff done. Do you have joy? Do you have peace? Are you connected to yourself? Are you growing? Are you thriving? Are you blossoming? Are you blooming? Or are you just hanging on for dear life? This is your choice. You get to choose. You get to choose. I know many people think, no, I don't get to choose. Well, the opposite could be just as true. Thanks, Jim. Did that help?
Well, I think the good news is I've learned how to do it, but it may not always be right. I have learned that my priorities are these, but with my wife and my kitty cats and my neighborhood, I try to synchronize my priorities with theirs. And of course, that changes as we age. So there's a time factor that comes along with prioritization, I think. And that may be a corporate issue that goes back to when are people forced to retire? When are people valued for their skills? Who do we listen to and why? Those are the questions that occur, I think, in the corporate workplace that are often not truly recognized.
So really good point. And this is a whole other thing. So instead of prioritization, it's about getting and listening to your whole yes, meaning head, heart, and gut. Do I have a whole yes to what I'm deciding to? And am I listening to what my wife, my dear Beth, what is her whole yes? She might have a different, and this goes corporately too, but I'm just going to use you two. You guys might have different ideas on what a whole yes is.
All right.
So you could argue and say, oh no, I'm doing this. Or you could say, how can we both get what we want? Can we step back and look at how do we both get what we want?
Correct.
Right?
That's good.
And this means for corporations to do the same. And also to hire for people's, not just what they do, but are they learners? Are they growers? Are they people who want to create together, co-creators? Are they co-creators? Or are they just coming in to get a check?
Good. Yeah.
Right? Maury, what do you got to say?
I'm taking it all in. What I like about the way you do things, Deborah, is that really allow people to talk about what they think. And you allow them to react to what you're talking about.
Thanks, Maury.
I just can't think of a better experience than allowing people to share their thoughts and be open to changes.
Yeah.
Enjoyed both of the sessions that you've had so far, and I think if we can value that, it really is a wonderful challenge. I also think that the one thing that I would appreciate from these meetings is knowing a little bit more about each of the participants. In my business, it's all about introductions and joining networks and people understanding how they can help each other. So I hope that maybe in the future we can either after a meeting tell each other about each other that's participating in contact information, so we don't lose the opportunity not only to hear great people, but to carry on the relationships that you put together by making these series happen.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Maury. Elizabeth, how can we make that happen? Go
Yeah,
ahead.
what we can do, Maury, is what would you think about if I sent an email right after each time to all the participants and CC'd everybody and just thanked everybody right there? And you have everyone's email, I'll list out who they are, and then you all can talk amongst yourselves if you like. You'll see.
Is that okay with everyone?
Everybody's email, just between whoever is on this call, myself,
What
Deborah.
What I'd really like to see, I know it's additional work, is I'd like to see everybody prepare what I call a short biography on themselves. And give everybody an opportunity to see each other's biography before we have this meeting, because then we'll know a little bit more about where people are coming from and the reality of their lives and their works. I don't think we should lose an opportunity to meet the people and to know more about them. And I don't think you want us to lose the contact.
I love that.
I
That's
want to
great.
know about Jim and Dina and more about the people that are here. So I take up that much time.
Love that.
Maury, you're awesome. Maury is the biggest hearted, kind, generous person you ever want to meet. He is a huge connector. We met in Chicago years ago. He is the best supporter to his growth, his dear wife's growth, the people that he knows. He wants everyone to succeed, but he knows it's through relationships, right? And that we can do more together than alone. And Maury is about being together. So thank you. So I agree. So next time we'll do the bio thing. That's a great idea. Hey, Craig. I know we have 5 minutes, guys. Hey, Craig, are you there?
I am.
Okay. So I just want to say that Dr. Craig Beach is one of my partners in crime. Craig, do you want to say what you're up to, hon?
Yeah, so nice to be here. I've really enjoyed everything and everyone's input. I mean, before, I just wanted to say that much of what you said really resonated with me, Deborah. I was thinking of Gandhi, the be the change you want to see in others, which kind of really gets at that kind of taking ownership and accountability for yourself. And that really weaved for me into your stuff about versus shaming and blaming and victimizing and externalizing. And then, I mean, you really talked a lot about the awareness piece, and a lot of people, I think, are more prone to be surviving than thriving, but you got to stop and reflect. I mean, we have that onus. I mean, we need to reflect a little deeper and longer to really kind of be honest. It's hard to be brutally honest with yourself if you're not very happy or you don't like where you are. It can be really hard to sit in that, right? Especially if you don't feel like you can easily change it. We tend to pretend, defend against that and pretend that it's not that bad, or, I'm just like everyone else, or I should just be grateful. Those are kind of the defenses that we have to kind of continue to tolerate pain and suffering. So that really resonated with me. Deborah and I met a while ago, and we're actually just about to embark on a program together with Stephanie Robinson, who's the Chief of Quality and Client Experience at Open Mind Health, which is a company I founded. I'm a psychiatrist and the CEO of that company, and we do all things mental wellness, really trying, it's all tele, but we see people, we do kind of mind, body, spirit healing. We have a number of kind of featured wellness tracks. There's Stephanie up in the
Hey,
corner. She's there. And so
Hi, everyone.
we met Deb, and we're really wanting to take on all of this angst and issues in the workplace, both from the employer and the employee perspective. And so this great resignation we're talking about today is certainly one of the areas, but there's a lot of others that we're hoping to do. So we're going to start with some breakout sessions just to kind of gauge what interest there is and what are the topics that people would be interested in hearing about. So I'm really excited, and thank you for inviting me here today.
Thanks for being here. Hey, Steph. Thanks, Craig, for sharing all that. I'm so blessed to have met these two. Again, I think when you are about being the change in the world, you're automatically people are gonna come to you because it's different. It's a different, people can sense it. So I just want all of you to stand in who you're called to be. It's the most important thing. And that's the most loving thing you can do. If we're trying to be like someone else, right? Or do something that's not ours to do, we're going to suffer. We're going to suffer. You're only called to be you. And that's always our constant learning. How great is it that we get to discover ourselves every day? So if you are knowing anyone who is a leader of a company, CEO, president, owns their own business, and their culture is suffering, they're not getting the results they want, and they're interested and curious about, gosh, where do I even begin? I'm offering a 30-minute session as complimentary to have a discussion around having a culture assessment. I do an in-depth culture assessment so we can just look at where are we without blame or shame, what's going on here, and how do we start to own it? Because until we can't change if we don't see what's there, and we can't really move anything if we don't own what's there without blame or shame. If it's there, if we can get curious about how we created it and how do we do the opposite of it, right? We always know that cultures say, oh, we want a great culture, it's this, this, and this, but we get in there, it's not really that way, right? That not really that way, people created that. It's not, it just didn't happen by happenstance. So how do we intentionally turn the culture, and what are the steps to do that? So I'm just inviting all of you, whether you're here or people who couldn't make it and they're going to listen to this webinar later, reach out to me to schedule a 30-minute conversation around what.
And Deborah, I have your information up. I'm sharing my screen now. So
thank you, hon. Yeah. Join us on another webinar, get your people, invite them to come listen. Let's have a discussion, guys, because we can do this together. Alone, yes, we have our change, but we can go way further together. I'm appreciating all of you for being here.
Good. Excellent.
Okay. So I want to honor our time because I know we're at time. Does anyone, any last words from anyone? Any thoughts, comments
Thank
before
you.
we sign out?
Just wanted to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Beth.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much, Deborah and
Thank
Elizabeth.
you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And we'll connect you all if everyone's good with that. Okay. Enjoy
Thanks.
your afternoon.
Bye-bye.
okay, bye everybody.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Elizabeth.
Bye.
Bye-bye.